Grenada and the rest of the world. Can you believe it? We're at the end of another week. And I certainly hope it's been a good one for you. Accomplished at least the majority of the things you wanted to accomplish, and that you're now looking forward to sort of celebrating on the weekend, rejoicing, if you will. This is the day which the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Pilgrims, today happens to be the 13th day of September 2019. And, when you look back at this week, it's been a mixed week. We've informed you about a lot of things. We have entertained you, made you laugh somewhat. But some of you may even have shed a tear at some of the sad stuff we had to show this week. I'm referring to the Bahamas, obviously. A little bit of everything. And I think that's reason enough to rejoice. You can't have it all hunky-dory every time, no? So, let's be thankful. It's been a good week. Not that it's over. You still have today, so don't go slacking off now and saying, well, the week has ended, blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. And some of you have to work tomorrow as well. Let's put it this way. Some of us have to work tomorrow as well. Let me glance over here and see who's won the race this morning. Let's see. Anthea 2 days in a row, Anthea? 2 days? Huh. Congratulations, Anthea. Congratulations. Your brother would be extremely proud of you. I hope he listens to us. If not, you get him cracking. Peter Bishop's number 2. He's saying good morning there. And Sawandi is also there with us, and so is John. John is reminding us that today is Friday the 13th. Yeah. Do you guys take that thing seriously? I don't know. I don't even think about it. I only remember it when somebody like John brings it up. Yeah? Bernard Gilbert saying good morning. Ricky Perriag, hello there. He's saying a blessed morning to everyone, and we do appreciate that, sir. John says here, Friday the 13th is said to be a bad day for some. Well, not for us. All of you in the audience this morning are going to have a great day today, aren't we? Of course we are. We're rejoicing. We're thankful. Now, let's take a look at the rundown, see what sort of mischief we're going to get into here this morning. I mentioned to you humor as one of the things we had this week on the program. Well, this morning we're actually going to start with a little humor this morning. I think this is so funny. Some of you may not take to it too kindly, but it's all good jest, okay? It's captioned, Anti-flatulent drugs. Really? Hold your breath. Hold your... No, bad choice of words, George. Bad choice of words. Just hang in there for a sec, okay? You'll find out what that's all about in just a wee bit. And then we have the national report for you this morning. And, of course, Mr. Pitt should be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Haven't talked to him, but haven't heard anything to the contrary, so I'm assuming that Mr. Pitt is all saddled up and ready to go. Now, okay. By the way, Michelle Forsyth has also just joined us. And John is saying, Anthea Rollo, you won't win tomorrow. That's for sure. Yeah, that's because we don't have a program tomorrow, John, you smart aleck. Jeez. All right. A Kenyan member of parliament has demanded a law to combat farting on airplanes, since she believes It can cause discomfort and insecurity on board flights. Lillian Achieng Gogo, that's her name, Lillian Achieng Gogo, made the comments while Parliament was talking about possible amendments to a law which deals with offenses committed on aircrafts. The request follows a bizarre row which broke out in Kenya's Home Bay County Assembly last month after a lawmaker accused a colleague of polluting the air. The MP in question denied the claims, and the Speaker ordered air fresheners to be brought to the chamber to tackle the problem. Trying to keep a straight face here. Trying to keep a straight face. Ms. Gogo, the MP for Rangwe constituency in Western Kenya, said, "There is one irritant that is often ignored, and this is the level of farting aboard aircraft. If this is not managed well, it can cause discomfort and insecurity on board flights." Straight face, George. The politician suggested introducing anti-flatulent drugs, which would be available for the crew members of these flights to give out if needed. And by the way, that report didn't come from Grenada Broadcast or CNN. That came from the BBC. Okay? She also said that passing wind on an aircraft was terrible within the plane and could cause airline passengers to fight with each other. Ms. Gogo also spoke about the problem of some passengers drinking too much while flying. Yeah, you heard it here. You heard it here. And by the way, full disclosure, that piece was sent to me. I'm going to put you on the spot this morning, John. That was sent to me by our good buddy, John, out there. Okay? Oh boy, anti-flatulent drugs. Wonder which pharmacies downtown are going to be the first to sell that. Getting back here to social media. Michelle Forsythe is saying good morning to you guys. So Samantha McFarland, thanks for the blessing, Samantha. Benedict Cador, yeah man, fantastic Friday, Benedict. And John says, someone did just that on an SVG flight I was on. And then that's a 7-seater small airplane. Ouch, 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 ouch. Yeah. Kipling Francis is saying, good morning, sending God's blessings and asking you guys to share the program. Michelle Forsythe says, I wonder who will voluntarily request one of these from a flight attendant. That's a good question. Good question. Good question, Michelle. You know, could you just try to imagine this? You're on a flight. You're going from Grenada to Miami. Something starts polluting the air, and you suspect it's coming from somewhere in your neighborhood. So you push the little button there. Flight attendant comes over. Yes, may I help you? And you go to her. Do you have any anti-flatulent drugs on board? Ha 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 ha. Margaret says, I don't envy you, John. Yeah, Mags. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know, these are things that some people are afraid to talk about, but I mean, it's life. It's life, you know. Just depends on whether you do it in poor taste or not. And I don't think we did it in poor taste this morning. So there you have it. What have you guys got planned for the weekend? Looks like I heard that we might have some rain on the weekend. And boy, I wonder about the folks out in the Bahamas because I see that they've got another system headed their way. The northwestern islands in the Bahamas could be mighty soggy for them on top of all the problems that they already have. Claude Putner says, good morning to you, Mr. Grant. It's a beautiful Friday in Grenada. Do something good today, people. Yeah, man, Claude, thank you very much. I forgot to say that, but you brought it up. Do appreciate it. See, we're looking out for each other. That's good. That's what we're all about. John says, you only need two, one for each nostril. No, John, I thought it's something you might, well, never mind. Okay, pilgrims, let me take a first break here because I don't want to keep Mr. Pitt waiting when he gets here. John says, I heard of a drought alert on the radio this morning. Well, that might change this weekend. Might change. Yeah, there are a couple of systems out there in the Atlantic, but they don't seem to be anything scary. The National Hurricane Center doesn't seem too alarmed about what's happening out there. But please remember, today is only, the 13th of September. The season theoretically goes until November 30th. But as you know, in recent years, we've had storms all the way into December, huh? So, boy, you never know. Okay, let's take a break, and we'll come back with the National Report.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grand Dams, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and the Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
You know, just getting back here to what John was saying about that drought alert that he heard on the radio this morning, something I've noticed, I like going to the beach, but as you know, I hadn't been for a long time. And one of the things I really disliked about going to the beach, and when I talked about going to the beach, I'm not talking about like we're doing right now, early in the morning. We get to the beach at about 5:30 in the morning, 5:25, 5:30. But I found that when you go to the beach during the day, it's always kind of difficult to enter the water because it always feels so cold. And I'm hesitant about that. Some people say, well, just jump right in. Yeah, that works. But still, feels cold, okay? And once you're in there for a few minutes, everything's nice and warm, okay? But I'll tell you one thing I've learned since we started this on, I think it was on Carnival Monday morning. Yeah, Juve morning. That's when I made my first early morning jaunt down there with Sharon and friends. You walk along, usually before we go into the water, we take a nice long walk along the beach. And you walk along there, and the water is lapping on your feet, and it is actually warm. So you have no hesitation whatsoever about getting in. And not only is it warm, man, it's been like a pancake most of the time. And when it's not, it's just a little rolling. No big deal at all. So I don't know why that happens, but it's really nice and warm and easy to get into in the morning. Glenn Andrew Mark is joining us from Michigan. Good to see you, Glenn. Thanks for being here. Here comes your national report.
Government spends close to $2.4 million for the latest batch of scholarship recipients. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, September 12th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. 59 additional scholarship recipients have received awards for study at tertiary institutions at home and abroad. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development and Religious Affairs hosted a scholarship awards ceremony at the Youth Center in Montrouge on Thursday. Details from Annette Moore.
Applying for a scholarship was paramount for me in order for me to be able to do this degree, first of all, because there was no way I would have been able to afford it on my own. Therefore, it was one of the options I was looking into for a while, and that was one of the reasons why I applied for the government scholarship. I'm very appreciative that the committee would have selected me.
Award ceremonies for scholarship signals the importance of our human resource development. When you are given this award as young people, it signals not only Grenada's commitment to you, it signals that Grenada is proud of you. Grenada has embraced your academic excellence, and we are providing the opportunity so that you can further your studies, so that you can develop this lovely nation of ours.
Scholarship awards totaling approximately $2.4 million were presented to the 59 recipients in several areas. 30 students received awards for undergraduate study and 14 for master's level degrees in international business and multi-sector health management at the St. George's University through the joint efforts of the Government of Grenada and SGU. 9 awardees received master's scholarships from the People's Republic of China, and 6 students received economic cost bursary assistance scholarships from the Government of Grenada. The Assistant Dean of Admissions of SGU delivered remarks on behalf of her institution.
Be an extraordinary student. Do not merely attend classes and complete your assignments, but get involved. Engage in your university community. Contribute to your local community through various volunteer projects. Studies have shown that students who actively participate in clubs and organizations, work part-time, and volunteer during their studies, they have a higher probability of securing a professional job after university.
Ambassador to Grenada from the People's Republic of China addressed the audience, noting that he's often asked why China provides so much assistance to Grenada, a nation so far away.
China intends to help Grenada speed up the progress overall economic and social development by providing sincere and service assistance. In 2018, China and Grenada signed the Memorandum of Understanding and Joint Construction of One Belt One Road initiative, which opened a new chapter in our bilateral relationship.
I want to again, on the behalf of the government and people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitt Martinique, express our sincerest appreciation to you, Ambassador, and the People's Republic of China, and St. George's University. We thank you for partnering with us in making a better life for our people.
I have recently completed a first degree, and the next step, of course, is pursuing a master's degree. Because of the responsibilities that I have here in Grenada, SGU is the ideal choice because it's an online program. This master's program would increase my opportunities for a job as well as help me to develop myself, my community, and my country.
Minister with responsibility for tertiary education, Honorable Pamela Moses, congratulated the recipients and encouraged them to do well.
Awardees, you are to give it your all. Never give up. Quitting is not an option for you. And when you can't go any further, you must let go and let God.
The minister also reminded them to contribute to national development.
Awardees, you have a lot to be thankful for, and your gratitude should be shown in your actions. Therefore, I will suggest that you show your gratitude by giving back to your society.
Awardees shared their goals for the future and their appreciation for the scholarship provided.
I applied for the scholarship primarily to study the area of tourism, hospitality, due to the huge investment that is happening in our country now with the hotels and so on that is happening, that is being built. And I believe that with these hotels being built, we as Grenadian people can be afforded the opportunity to be able to spearhead or manage these very important departments, such as the culinary department or the food and beverage department. Because oftentimes you realize that you bring in foreign persons to manage these departments here in our country. So with this degree, it would allow me to be able to pass on the knowledge and the skills to manage within this department.
They have assisted me, for example, in giving me this scholarship. So I think it is very important that I give back to them and help develop Grenada even more. In 5 years from now, I intend to be working along with the Fisheries Department of Grenada in helping to preserve and protect our coastal areas, our marine reserves.
For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
Insurance for fishermen, youth in agriculture, and predial larceny. Some of the salient topics addressed when farmers and fisherfolk met Wednesday as part of the ongoing Budget 2020 stakeholder consultation. Meetings are also scheduled to be held with social partners, the Trades Union Council, youth, and the private sector. Karima Lewis reports on Wednesday's meeting with the Ministry of Agriculture, which was held in Grenville.
It was an evening of healthy discussion surrounding concerns and suggestions regarding agriculture and fisheries and how these impact the Grenadian economy, as over 130 farmers and fisherfolks came together for the annual budget consultation. The 3-hour event held at High Level Grenville St. Andrew was an event of the Ministry of Finance held in conjunction with the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries as they seek to gain pertinent information for possible inclusion in the 2020 budget. Attending the session was Minister for Agriculture and Lands, Honorable Yolande Bean Hosford, Minister with responsibility for disaster management and information, Senator Winston Garraway, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Elvis Moraine. Minister Bean Hosford, in her address to the farmers and fishermen, explained the number of initiatives in the pipeline geared towards the development of farmers and farming in Grenada, from tackling predial larceny to the development of youth in agriculture.
The amendments of the Predial Larceny Act, the reconstitution of the multi-stakeholders Predial Larceny body, introduction of cameras and the erection of billboards in strategic locations throughout the state once the hotline is established. The implementation of the pilot land bank project, which will provide useful information on the availability of lands. These lands will be utilized in the implementation of the Youth in Agriculture project. The Ministry of Agriculture, you may have heard about this Youth in Agriculture project for quite a while, but we get in there. The Ministry of Agriculture, in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth, developed a conceptual framework for the project, which will be fleshed out in the coming weeks in preparation for implementation and commencement of targeted training for the beneficiaries.
Senator Winston Garraway encouraged the attendees, in particular the fisherfolks, to get themselves insured, as the Ministry of Climate Resilience has entered into a partnership with the Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility, CRIF, to bring to Grenada the coast parametric insurance.
It's to ensure that in the event of an impact from either a cyclone or a hurricane of the sort, or with the rise in sea levels, that can impact livelihoods, that can prevent our fisher folks from making an income to take care of the families. There is a facility available to cushion the effects should there be another Ivan. Every fisher folk is required at this point in time to be registered and to be a part of the program. So the Ministry of Fisheries at this point in time are doing as we say, the registration process to bring on board all our fisher folk.
Permanent Secretary Elvis Marine implored on the farmers to have a business-like approach to their farming.
I believe farmers have to understand, and I keep saying that since I joined the ministry, you must take your farming as a business. You know, you have to look at it. It's something that you have to secure. I remember last year at the annual General Cocoa Association meeting, a farmer said something which had me thinking. Minister made an observation about youth in agriculture. And the gentleman asked, Minister, you're talking about youth in agriculture. What about the elders in agriculture? No, this is not a simple statement. Because the farmer recognized that I have been doing that all my life. And I have to do that until I dead, because there's no way I have something that I can lean on. It's because we are not taking farming as a business. Right? You have to apply the business.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lewis.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Prepare for hurricane. Prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. Waterproof flashlight candles will do. Tin stuff, garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on, people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane. Your hair, prepare for hurricane.
Continuing the news, Grenada will have an additional criminal judge and another civil judge when the new law term officially opens in January 2020. They are both due here soon. During Tuesday's post-cabinet briefing, Minister for Legal Affairs, the Honorable Kindra Mathurin-Stewart, said a decision was taken by the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court to move the official opening date for the new law term from September, which is in the heart of the hurricane season, to January. The new official opening date is January 13th, 2020. Minister Mathurin-Stewart also spoke to the recent appointment of Chief Magistrate Tamara Gill to act as Master of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. That appointment was made by the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, the JLSC, to run from September 15th to December 21st. The JLSC has also appointed Magistrate Teddy St. Louis to act as Chief Magistrate in the interim, and he will be assigned to the St. George's No. 1 Magistrates Court. Magistrate Francine Foster, who was assigned to the Traffic Court, moves to the Northern and Western Districts, which include the Magistrate Court in Carriacou, St. Mark, and St. John. And Kinamarast Victor, Crown Counsel in the Attorney General's Chambers, has been appointed to act as an additional magistrate in the Traffic Court in St. George's. 12 students were recipients of the 2019 Tia Marisho Community College GUT grant presentation. Grants were awarded to 11 first-year students covering tuition for their first year at the institution. Joselle Mercer, who is currently pursuing an associate degree in natural sciences, received a scholarship which covers full tuition for the second year. Mercer completed the first year with a GPA of 3.88. The Vice President of the Board, Kim Paris, says they have invested and will continue to invest in the development of the nation's youth.
To date, over 110 students have benefited from the fund, where each was awarded $1,000. We believe that education is an investment, a costly investment, I might add. And this occasion signifies the vested interest the GUT Cooperative Credit Union has placed in the acquisition of higher education by our nation's youth. This initiative corresponds with one of our core operating principles, that of which seeks to bring about human and social development, as well as educational and financial independence through higher education and lifelong learning.
She urges the students to work harder and use the opportunity as a stepping stone for greater accomplishments.
It is our hope that the assistance we are providing to you will serve as a springboard for you to seek further educational pursuits. We look forward to the fruits of our investment in your accomplishment, and we anticipate that your accomplishments will significantly affect your life, the lives of the members of your families and communities. We encourage you to persevere in all your academic endeavors and wish you continued success.
And the 2018 recipient, Joselle Mercer, gave tips for success, encouraging her peers to stick to the path towards achievement.
Surviving college requires discipline as it relates to your ability to stick to specific study areas and study times on the campus and at home. Being well organized, choosing friends that can help you to grow, speaking with your lecturers for clarity, and most importantly, eating healthy to stimulate brain activity and for energy to walk in all directions on the campus for classes. So, you should have small goals in mind like thoroughly preparing for all exams, conducting all assignments to the best of your ability, using the library to study, asking for help when really in need, doing lab reports to the best of your ability.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
You guys are kind of active out there this morning in social media, and just want to share some of those comments with you. First of all, Margaret has a little advice for the folks down at the GIS, and she says, you know, when you guys have a list like the court reassignments, use graphics to help the viewer. Good point, Mags. Thank you so much. Good morning, Arthur. Good morning, Ryan. There's some more comments here. Oh, Brian's a little coffee this morning. John Bruno says, I'm not seeing Pitt Martinique included on the budget consultation schedule. It's a long while since we were considered. You know, John, I heard from somebody in Carriacou recently, a couple of days ago, and you know there was a consultation held in Carriacou recently, and the person made the point that he went to the venue of that consultation, and after 30 minutes of waiting for this thing to get started, he just left. So I'm not sure if the consultation actually came off or not, but anyhow, that's it. Anthony Howard started a string here a little while ago. He says he's looking forward to a great show, and I'm also looking forward to more discussions on the environment. Most pressing, I would like to know, when is the government going to stop the yachts from anchoring in our coastal waters, especially off Grand Anse? Swimming in human waste and eating fish that are consuming human waste is not healthy. Sean, out there in the Azores, says, funny how the environment, the very thing that supports our life systems, is given such a backseat. The yachting industry and the tourism industry are worth nothing if they leave us with barren land and empty oceans. Go on, drink a dollar bill, chew on a dime, and then tell me what our priority should be. John Bruno says this is a very serious issue, and we talk about making St. George's climate smart every day around 10 a.m. Waters just off the Melville Street Fish Center turn brown. Are we serious about protecting the environment? John comes back here, he's talking about the drought we were talking about earlier on. He says here, more big hotels equal more people wanting more water. So where is all this water going to come from? And then there's somebody else who commented on that. Anthony says, I don't understand why we are allowing more hotels when we don't have a proper wastewater treatment plant. This is ridiculous. We are killing our people. Okay. Now, rather than keep this gentleman waiting this morning, I'm going to go straight to him, even without another break. Take a look. There he is. Mr. Pitt, how are you, sir? You forgot to shave this morning, didn't you?
Good morning, George. I wanted to give you something to talk about, so I grew my beard. It's a conversation piece, George, so working.
Absolutely. I got a haircut. Did you notice?
No, I didn't notice that you had hair.
Brian. Okay, we're even, Brian.
Yes, we're even.
We're even. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Yourself?
I am fine, sir. I could have been better, if I'd gone to the beach this morning. I didn't make it to the beach this morning. But
I did, and the water was lovely.
It was. I didn't see you yesterday.
No, because I was somewhere else.
On the beach?
No.
Okay. We're not going to ask where. We're not
No,
going to ask
no.
where. Okay. Just before we settle down to you here, let me see here. John says that it's the Friday pit stop.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I should start using that from now on, the pit stop. Okay, Brian, so let's start. I'm going to give you the first go at it. What's up your sleeve this morning?
Well, just a quick reaction to that environmental conversation, George. We are interested in the environmental conversation because there's money in that area of conversation. And we stand to benefit from those funds that are available. And that's our only interest. We are not doing anything to show that we are interested in the environment. And as to the yachting industry and our waters, when our waters are totally contaminated, George, they'll move to another island.
Yeah.
Unless we can regulate what they do, how they do it, and when they do it.
Yeah.
And until we put some regulations in place, they will continue to do what they do.
Sad, eh?
George, this has been a very eventful week, and I've noticed a lot of conversation about this post-cabinet briefing.
I knew you were going there.
But George, there are some instructive things I'm learning about this post-cabinet briefing. Have you been to one of these things, George?
I used to go frequently, every week, but I stopped a few years ago.
Well, Kalistra said something in an interview which caught my ear. Words to the effect that they are only allowed to ask questions on the topic at hand. Am I correct in my conclusion there?
I don't remember her saying that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I know that in my day you could ask questions, but they were not really welcome. These people came there prepared to answer questions about a specific topic.
But I gather that there is, in the briefing, you are allowed to ask questions pertaining to a particular topic that the minister or representative of the government is there to answer.
Yeah.
If that is the case, then there's something very wrong with MWAG agreeing to a post-cabinet meeting where the questions are controlled by the people who are having the briefing.
Yes, sir.
You know, if I'm correct, at a cabinet meeting, the business of the state is discussed. No one issue. So you're not going to have a cabinet briefing just to discuss health or agriculture. There's an agenda. And you talk about whatever is on that agenda, the people's business. So unless the media association can dictate to the press secretary or whoever else, the minister responsible for information, that we are going to stay on topic for a certain period of time, but we want 10 minutes to ask any question that comes to mind about the nation's business, that I can't see the use of this post-cabinet briefing, George.
Well, you know, Brian, I understand what you're saying, but like I said, back in my day when I used to attend the post-cabinet briefings, you could ask anything you want. Because, I mean, it was an opportunity for the media to interrogate the authorities. That's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it worked fine. It worked fine.
But it doesn't seem that is what is happening today. And if that is not what's happening, then I think MWAG need to sit down and decide how it's going to further advance conversations or questions as it relates to the post-cabinet briefing.
You're asking a lot of MWAG.
Well, you see, George, I think MWAG has lost their moral authority. You know?
Absolutely.
And that is unfortunate, because I asked myself a number of questions in regard to this incident. Was a crime committed? And if a crime was committed, are the police investigating this crime as it was committed? Because it was committed in wide open space where cameras were rolling, I understand.
Yep.
Because there's all kinds of stuff on social media. And if a crime was committed or the matter is not being investigated, then what we have is a further corruption of some institutions in this country that we may not recover from, you know. Because if the police decides that it would not investigate this because of who the person is, then it leaves a lot to be desired of the police.
Brian, stick a pin there for a minute.
Sure.
Was an investigation done by the police into Cellgate?
Well, you see, therein lies our problem.
Yes or
George.
no, Brian? Brian, hold on.
I am not aware.
Okay.
I'm not aware.
Was anything done about the payment of the security detail in lieu of vacation?
I am not aware.
Okay. And now you
Well,
expect
maybe
now you
something
expect
to be-
now you expect the police to act here?
Well, you see, we are talking now, George, about a total breakdown in the society in Grenada. And we're going back now to are we going to just let this continue, or is somebody going to take action and try to correct the situation? Because, you know, we're going down a kind of road that we might regret in years to come. You know, I don't understand why we are not allowed to inquire about the nation's business. You know, and George, I recall I was involved in a program called You Decide. I think Beyond the Headlines was a good program where if there's a topical issue of the day, we will get a minister of government or somebody responsible for that conversation to come and sit down and have a conversation with us. I'm not aware that there's any such programming anymore.
Correct.
So we are down a one-way street where people are left to guess as to the ethics and responsibility of those people we paid or we voted for to represent us. And that is a dangerous situation.
Sharon is asking a question here, boy. I know this one's going to stump you. Brian, who do you expect to take action?
George, the institutions that cause this country to run. And let me, it just came to mind. I wonder if the president of the Senate will allow a question to be asked about this incident. I'm going to pay particular attention to the next sitting of the Senate to find out if, because Senator Gudday is a member of the Senate.
Yes.
And if on the other side or an independent senator can ask a question of Senator Gudday about this particular incident. But we have to believe, George, that somebody is going to take action on our behalf. I still believe that the law will play its rightful role over time in regulating how this place is governed. Now, so far, matters have gone before the court, and when the government is wrong, it's adjudged to be wrong. As a matter of fact, I believe the Prime Minister got very upset with members of the Attorney General's office who he believes did not represent them well because they lost cases.
Yes.
You know, so maybe the last bastion of hope for the survival of the governance of this country might very well be the law. But then again, you know, there are questions as to the people representing the law. You know, some people are bending the rules just to satisfy the innocence of their clients. So the spirit of the law, George, is being challenged right now here in Grenada as we speak. Now, a topical issue in the world today, George, is how states are treating journalists. The Saudi Arabians are being put over the coals because some guy died, George. And from what I saw, this is an abuse. So if some member of this local media were to put out a story to the foreign media, local, regional, or international, that this incident took place in Grenada, I would like to know what will happen. Hey, George?
You know, it seems that that's our only hope now, that somebody from the outside, you know, maybe an organization like Reporters Without Borders or the International Press Institute, it seems like they may be the only hope left because, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that this thing has to end somewhere. What worries me is how it's going to end. Samantha McFarland says it's a dictatorship heading to communism. Hey, now, I mean, that might be a harsh comment, but the lady may be onto something there. And Sharon Roberts says, someone told me on the beach this morning that the people like it so. They voted them back in. You have to wonder about a man who feels free to assault a lady. What is he doing at home to the females in his life? Just wondering. Margaret Francis says, Brian, the guy didn't die. He was murdered by the Saudi government.
Yes, he was murdered by the Saudi government, and the United Nations representative said so. And there is a deep concern about the treatment of journalists throughout the world today, George, because a lot of governments are moving to solidify themselves as little dictatorships and suppressing the media and suppressing opposition. You know, this fake news thing is becoming very topical. Fake news is anything that governments don't want you to know about, that they are the only person who tells the truth. So they're parading behind this whole fake news. I would be surprised if Mr. Garvey's response to this thing was that it was fake news, and that the lady tripped on herself. You know? But it's very serious, George, and I think I'm beginning to be very, very, very concerned that we are heading down a road that we may not be able to come out of by just simple dialogue.
Well, you know, Brian, the culprits are one thing, but the people who are being abused, they are another. Do you know, I've been trying for the last 2 days to reach Miss Farrier, to invite her on the program on Sunday to talk. These things need to be vented. They need to be vented.
Yes.
No answer, man. No answer, no answer, no answer. I have also talked with, I intend to speak to some more today, but I've already talked with one lawyer who would prefer not to deal with it. There is one person who was very anxious to talk about it, Jimmy Bristow, but unfortunately, Jimmy is in France right now, and he's not able to join me on Sunday. But this is something we intend to take up on Sunday, big time.
Well,
hold on. Now that I've put the word out, don't be too surprised if you see your internet connection going haywire on Sunday. I just have to mention that because I think all my viewers know what's happening. See? For example, look, John, right here now as we speak, John said, guess what? A dropout on a sensitive subject. You know, once we start discussing sensitive issues, you see things going to hell in a handbasket. And you know it, you've experienced it.
Yes, yes, but you know, George, the fallout of all this stuff is that if the government of Grenada is not prepared to sanction those people who misbehave, the government will suffer in the long run. It may not be in my and your lifetime, but they'll suffer in the long run. People who misbehave must be sanctioned, and sanctioned to the goodwill of the people involved. I mean, we need the media, we need journalists. I was very, very surprised, George, to be honest with you, to hear that journalists are only allowed to ask questions on a particular topic they're being discussed. I was surprised. And I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and he said, Brian, what you telling me? You mean you can't ask any other question at a post-cabinet briefing? Then there's something wrong.
Not only that, man, the journalists get the evil spirits rebuked out of them. You heard about that part?
No.
Oh, you didn't hear that part?
You know, my grandmother used to say, had a thing she tell me all the time, you know. What she put it again, boy? What is joke for school children is dead for crapo.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. What is joke for school children is dead for crapo.
You know, you mentioned that all of these things are going to come back to haunt the government. And I was thinking this week, you know, what happened on Tuesday is not only further tarnishing the image of the government, but, you know, because it happened, because it was done by a pastor, it tarnishes the religious community as well. And, you know, when you see pastors behaving in this manner, I mean, is it hard to understand why people are staying away from the churches?
And that includes, whether they like it or not, all religious organizations.
Yeah.
All. So those who decide to keep quiet about this issue is also being tarnished.
Yeah.
And further, George, it is about a man and a woman.
Yeah.
In this day and age of the U2 movement, abuse can be defined as a lot of things, you know. This guy could be accused of abusing a woman. Whether it be verbally by telling you, I want to get the evil spirits out of you, or physically by pushing her to the ground if he did. That's abuse. And I don't know if the journalists involved have approached counsel on this matter, but I think she should. And if she hasn't and hasn't had the money, this is an opportunity for the legal fraternity in Grenada to take this case pro bono, because it is to the governance of this country.
Yeah. I was told by one lawyer that in the past he had offered to handle a case with her pro bono, but apparently never pursued it.
Because this is the second incident with this journalist.
In a couple of weeks.
Before the election where something was boxed out of her hand. Now, I don't know what the conclusion of that matter was.
Yeah.
But not even thinking of that particular journalist, it is something that can happen to anybody. Yeah. So the fraternity, MY, should be concerned about this whole thing. Yes, George?
Absolutely. And I mean, the talk on the street is, where is the reaction from MWAG? Where is the reaction?
On a brighter note, George, or whatever, we put a brighter note. You know, I'm a cricket fan, so I'll be looking at
CPL.
No. England and Australia this morning.
Okay.
This is my first day at this test match. This is the second day. This is my first day looking. And I couldn't help but observe that Mr. Archer, who is the fast bowler for England from Barbados, is now wearing a lot of bling around his neck.
He's wearing a lot of bling around his neck?
Bling. That's gold, big gold chains.
Yeah.
As if to say, this is to show that I have arrived.
Oh, excuse me.
Bling, we call it, George. So there are gold chains that seem to be wearing his neck down.
Okay.
And I wonder if this is common practice to cricketers when they have made it.
Okay. You got me on that one.
I caught you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to admit, though, you know, and this probably has to do with some of the conversations that you and I have had. I have actually been watching a couple of the CPL matches.
Yeah.
And you know, Brian, I may be getting hooked. I've seen some exciting cricket here this week.
And some young talent is being exposed, George. Some guys are doing very well whose names are not household names.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing is working.
Yeah.
What we are going to do with that talent after the CPL is going to be left to question.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mr. Pitt. Brian, Sharon says, I totally agree with you, Brian. I would like to see a non-political lawyer take up the cause.
Yes, somebody.
Kipling, I'm trying to read Kipling here. I have not read this before. Kipling says, well, the pastor gets jealous of seeing others getting away with doing whatever they want. Cutlass, Cellgate, violating the law, and boasting. So he has to join with the elites. So says Kipling.
Yes, unfortunately, people who are not very bright might believe this is a license to do whatever they please.
Yeah.
Because someone gets away with it. So we have to stop it and stop it now.
Thanks, Mr. Pitt.
Thank you, George. Have a good weekend.
Okay, hold on a minute. John says, Brian Pitt, but they can play for a 5-day test? But can they play for a 5-day test? I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Can they play for a 5-day test?
But can
we
they?
don't know that. We don't know that. I think he's talking about the talent that we are now discovering from the CPL.
Okay.
They can play a 5-day test match. We don't know that until we get them in a 5-day test match.
Okay. Thanks a lot, BP. You have a wonderful weekend, sir.
Same to you.
One of these days, I'd like you to come and sit here with me instead of me having to look at your face on a monitor. Eh? How about that? I mean,
that could be arranged.
When you come from the beach, I mean, just come here. We'll have a little coffee, or maybe I'll even splurge and get you some cocoa tea.
Coconut water will be better, Joe.
Coconut water. You just say when, and I'll arrange to have some coconut water.
Have a great one.
You too, sir.
Take care.
Mr. Brian Pitt, thank you very much for joining us, sir. Always a pleasure having you. And folks, quick break, and then we'll come back and wrap it up.
We are honored to partner with the Grenada Schools, Inc., the Ministry of Education, and the Caliste Government School in providing this library. GCPI program put $120,000 or 66% of the cost of the library. But it's not an investment that is intended to bring a financial return. It is an investment in the human capital of our youth in Grenada.
GRENLEC has shown us their seriousness about partnership, their seriousness about education, and their seriousness about nation building. That local partnership tells our major donors that Grenada is interested.
We have got a big vision at Grenada Schools. We believe that what we can do is, through literacy, have the most literate country in the Caribbean. We are very happy that you got this gift from ourselves and from GRENLEC.
We see this library as a unique and valuable resource. One of the best things about receiving this library is that it honors and recognizes the efforts and contributions of a company like GRENLEC and Grenada Schools Incorporated.
Since 1994, GRENLEC shareholders have invested over $22 million. This has been invested in the communities throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitt, Martinique. We hope this library will serve the students and school well for many years to come.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to GRENLEC's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call GRENLEC at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Today's reading comes to you from the first book of Peter, Peter 5, verses 6 to 9. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Resist him, standing firm in the faith, because you know that the family of believers throughout the world is undergoing the same kind of sufferings. 1 Peter 5, 6 to 9. All righty, folks, that's going to do it for not only today, man, but for the entire week. It's been a nice week. Thank you so much for being a part of it, making it all happen. Good to have seen you. Hope you learned something. Hope you had a good chuckle. And, hey, maybe even shed a tear. Sometimes it's good to do that as well. God bless you, and we'll see you on Sunday morning for the next edition of Sundays with George Grant.